My name is Asim Jalis. I'm going to show you today how to install Java and Eclipse and then how to get started with a basic Hello World example. So this video is part of a larger course called Java Through Examples. Today, we're just going to focus on getting a basic program running in Eclipse. If you're interested in finding out about future videos and classes, you can sign up for our mailing list. You can do that either by going to the website metapros.com and signing up over there, or you can send me an email at my email address, which is asimjalis@gmail.com, and I can put you on the list. So the first thing we have to do is to install Eclipse. And so let's go ahead and do that. So this course is structured as a series of exercises and solutions. And the idea behind this is that when you have the exercise, it sets up a goal in your mind. And so when you see the solution, it fits into that goal. So it helps become engaged with the material, and it also creates challenges, and it creates a kind of narrative tension, which I think makes the training a lot more interesting. So the first thing we're going to do is install Java on our machines. If you're on the Mac, you don't need to do anything. Java comes pre-installed on the Mac. The version that comes pre-installed is 1.6. The current version of Java is 1.7, but the differences are not significant enough for it to be worth upgrading. So you can just keep using the Java that comes pre-installed on the Mac. If you're on Windows, on the other hand, you have to install it. And so here's the process for doing that. So the first thing you want to do is go to this link, which is searchable through Google. So if you search on Google for Java JDK download, and then just click on the first link, that will take you there. So let me actually just find this through Google. So I'm just going to open up Chrome over here and search for Java JDK download, and just click on the first link. So this takes you to this page at Oracle where you can download Java, and you want to click on this first button here, which has the word Java and download on it. So don't click on JavaFX or NetBeans. I'm just going to go ahead and click on this. And on this page, you want to accept the license agreement, and then you want to select the version of Java that's appropriate for your machine. So for Windows, for 32-bit Windows, you want to choose x86, and for 64-bit, you can choose x64, and if you're not sure, you can just choose x86 for both of them. If you're not sure which version, 32-bit or 64-bit, you have, then you can just choose x86. And so this is a self-installing exe. When you download and run it, it should install Java on your machine. Once you have Java installed, we're going to go ahead and walk through the steps for installing Eclipse. So the first thing we'll do is download Eclipse. To download Eclipse, you want to go to this URL, which is eclipse.org/downloads. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this URL, and I will go to the browser again and just paste it in the address bar up here, and go to the Eclipse download page. So on the download page, you will notice that it gives you the option to download several different versions of Eclipse. The most appropriate one for Java development is the Eclipse IDE for Java developers, which is this one right here. So you want to just go ahead and download this. So I'm going to pick the 64-bit version because I have a 64-bit machine, but if you're not sure, again, you can just choose the 32-bit version, and that should work on both of them. When you click on download, it'll take you to this download page, and usually these mirrors are, usually the default download location is not very fast, so I find it easier to scroll down to the list of mirrors down here, and then just pick something that's close to where I live. So I'm in California, so I think Oregon State University seems to be pretty close and generally tends to be very fast as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on that. When the download finishes, you should be able to just expand the file that got downloaded. So on the Mac, it downloads as a tar.gz file. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on this. And so it gets expanded out, and it gets expanded in the downloads folder as Eclipse. So let me look for it here, and it's basically up here on top. So all I have to do to install it on the Mac is just copy this folder into the applications folder in Finder, and that installs Eclipse. Now that we have Eclipse installed, we're going to go ahead and write a simple Hello World program in Eclipse. So here's how to do it. First, we'll start Eclipse, and we'll do that by finding it in Spotlight up here. So I'm just going to type Eclipse and then select the Eclipse application. And then after that, Eclipse asks me to select a workspace. So the workspace is a folder in which Eclipse will store all of the Java source files and all the other dependencies that it needs. So generally, Eclipse will choose something under Documents called Workspace, and that's a fine default. So we'll just go ahead and use that. So I'm just going to click OK. Takes a minute for it to spin up, and finally it comes up. And then this is the page that you get the first time you use Eclipse. So you can look at these other icons, and most of them give you samples and some tutorials. The one you want to click on is Workbench. So Workbench is the interface through which we will actually write Java programs, build them, and then test them. So go ahead and click on Workspace, and this will put us into a view that looks like this. Let me just make this window a little bit smaller so we can keep looking at our notes as well. So what we're going to do is within Workbench, we're going to create first a project, and then within a project, we'll create a package, and then within the package, we'll create a class. So there's a hierarchy of objects that you have to create in order to create a simple application in Java. And the reason for having these things is just so that you can keep your files organized even as your project gets larger and even as you have hundreds of developers working on it at the same time. So Java is really optimized for enterprise software where you have large teams of people independently working on different parts of the system. And the project and package abstractions let you organize and break up a large system into smaller pieces. So the first thing we'll do is we'll create a new Java project. So I'm going to go into File, and I'm going to go into New, and then click on Java Project. So for the project name, I'm just going to call it Demo, and then click Finish. And then just go with the defaults and everything. So now under the project, I'm going to create a package. There's two different ways of doing that. We can either go through File, New, and then just select Package. Or we can, since we have the project selected, we can actually right click on this and then go into New and create a package. And that will guarantee that the package is in this project. So this is useful to know if you have multiple projects and you want to make sure that a package goes into the right project. So for the package, I'm going to use the name core. And then again, I'll just go with the defaults and everything else and click on Finish. And then I'm going to do the same thing again. Just right click on core. Again, you can do this to the file menu item as well. And then under package, I'm going to create a class. And for the class name, I'll choose hello and then just go with the defaults and everything else. Now, one of the conventions in Java is that class names have to start with an uppercase letter. This is a convention that is not strictly enforced. So if you name a class with a lowercase letter, it'll still work, but it would be very unconventional. So it is a good idea to just follow the best practices and use an uppercase letter. This makes it easier for other people to understand your code. And so once I have the name in there, I'm just going to go with the defaults and everything else, and then I'm going to click on Finish. And so when I do this, Java will open up the hello.java file for me in this editor window. So in order to make this print hello world, I have to add a I have to add a method to it. So I'm just going to line up the curly braces as well. So basically you have the name of the package up here, then you have the name of the class. So you have some keywords, public class are keywords, and then you have the name of the class. And then you have these open curly braces. There's an open curly brace and there's a closed curly brace. And basically the code for your class goes inside these. So everything in Java is organized in classes, and within classes you can have functions. So we're just going to go ahead and write a function inside this class. It's going to be called public static void main, and then I'm going to write hello. And actually, let me make this a little bit bigger so I don't have to hit up against the margin. So notice Eclipse immediately checks the code, and there were some red markers here indicating errors, but those errors were just there because the code was not completely typed in yet. So then after this, I'm going to type system.out.println, and within this, I'll type hello world. And so once I do this, and let me just get rid of these blank lines here as well. Once I do this, at this point, I have a valid Java program. So I just did Command S to save it. You can explicitly save it by going through File and Save, or you can do Command S or Control S on Windows. And so now to run the program, you can just click on play, and that runs the program and prints the output down here. And so under the hood, Java is doing a lot of the same things that you would do if you did this without Eclipse. I'm sorry, under the hood, Eclipse is doing a lot of the same things that you would do on the command line by yourself, by hand. And Eclipse is doing them for you in an automatic way. So it's compiling the program, it's checking for errors, reporting back errors, and then it's also running the program and then reporting back the output. Eclipse has autocomplete. So for example, instead of typing out the whole word, we could have just typed SYST and then hold on Control and press space, and that would autocomplete. So you can choose what word it is that you're trying to complete, and then type out.println. Hello again. Also, Eclipse makes it easy to rename packages, classes, and functions, and we'll look at that later on. So that concludes this lesson on how to create a simple Hello World application in Eclipse.